We spend a vast majority of our adult lives trapped inside a loop. You wake up, commute, stare at a glowing rectangle for 8 hours, commute home, and do it all again. The days bleed into one continuous, exhausting blur. In 2020, that everyday monotony collided with a sudden, global isolation. We were confined to our homes, separated by physical distance, and left to navigate an environment stripped of almost all spontaneity. This is the state we find Peter in at the start of the AMC television series, Dispatches from Elsewhere. He's a data-collecting office worker whose routine has entirely numbed him to the world around him. The show introduces a specific, proactive mindset called divine nonchalance to break Peter's paralysis. Divine nonchalance requires the intentional act of looking closely at mundane tasks to find the hidden, complex beauty inside of them. When human connection breaks down, this deliberate curiosity functions as a psychological survival tool. It forces you to look up from your routine and engage with the environment and the people around you. The concept itself originated years earlier, taking root on the sidewalks of San Francisco. In 2008, bizarre flyers began appearing around the city. They advertised services like dolphin therapy or a center for socio-reengineering. If you were curious enough to call the number on the tear-off tab, you were pulled down a rabbit hole. Over the next 3 years, more than 7,000 people joined an alternate reality game, or ARG. It was an interactive, city-wide scavenger hunt that blurred the line between fiction and physical reality. The players soon discovered they were interacting with the Jejune Institute, a fabricated organization run by the equally fictional Octavio Coleman, Esquire. New participants were directed to a real office building and sent into an automated induction room. The process was designed to strip away adult cynicism and demand a state of heightened observation. While the organization was fake, the enthusiasm of those 7,000 players proved that adults are desperate for an excuse to play. They just need permission. The Jejune Institute ran its players through a grueling, multi-chapter labyrinth. They tuned in to pirate radio transmissions in public parks, deciphered codes on missing person posters, and tracked down physical tokens hidden across the city. When the organizers held a massive live finale in 2011 to conclude the story, players arrived expecting a profound revelation. Instead, they found a confusing, anticlimactic seminar that left the fictional plot unresolved. This backlash revealed a crucial insight. The value of the game lived in the act of searching rather than the final answer. Actor Jason Segel learned about the experiment from a documentary and successfully requested his own induction into the game. He then adapted the experience into a scripted television drama. Instead of focusing entirely on the cryptic lore, Segel's adaptation built the narrative around an unlikely family of 4 lonely players, forced to collaborate. By moving the focus from the puzzle to the people solving it, the show successfully translated the street game to the screen. The emotional walls the characters had built around themselves became the primary mystery worth unraveling. The television series heavily contrasts the cold corporate manipulation of the antagonist, Octavio Coleman, against the fragile, genuine connection growing between Peter and his new teammate, Simone. They align themselves with a rebel faction called the Elsewhere Society. This group advocates for genuine divine nonchalance as a direct rejection of the Institute's manufactured snake oil. The show leans into the surreal, like having a dancing Bigfoot deliver messages in the woods. These bizarre encounters function to force isolated characters to rely on each other. The characters eventually discover that magic emerges as a byproduct of lonely people working together to interpret the world. This philosophy has practical value when the world forces us into isolation. In the early days of the pandemic, a science educator found herself trapped in the loop of remote learning and domestic chores. After watching Dispatches from Elsewhere, she decided to manufacture her own mystery right on her kitchen counter. She started by attempting to cultivate wild yeast from everyday scraps, following a viral Twitter thread from a yeast biologist. This thread provided the instructions needed to kick off the household experiment. This shows the evidence of the experimental setup, focusing on the 4 distinct jars used to test different yeast starters. She treated the kitchen like a laboratory, comparing the growth from a simple flour mix against beer dregs and pieces of dried fruit. She documented the progress online. Looking at the engagement metrics on the original viral thread, with over 100,000 likes, it's clear this struck a chord. People across the country started their own jars, forming a remote community of practice. By making her own curiosity explicit, she turned the chore of feeding a family into a shared, daily act of scientific discovery. This is the tangible result of looking closely. You start with microscopic, invisible biology, and you end with a warm, nourishing loaf of bread. A street game provided the practice of observation, which a TV show translated into human connection, before a kitchen experiment proved the philosophy could sustain a household during a crisis. Divine nonchalance requires no grand conspiracy. It is the daily, intentional practice of choosing to find wonder in the routine.